So Play Green is actually a sequel to your film Henry Fool, which was made in 1997. So the first question is obvious, I think. Why did you decide to do Play Green after 10 years?
Well, it took me 10 years to think of the story. I had, when I was writing Henry Fool, I had the feeling that that Henry Fool itself, which you may or may not have seen, was part of a big story. And that was quite fun to do. And I used to joke that there would be sequels, but I didn't really commit myself to it. But one thing happened with Henry Fool. I really decided that I wanted to make a movie for Parker, from beginning to end, like really just her.
When did you decide this? While you were making Henry Fool?
Well, I think so. I think I was inspired to do that when I was making Henry Fool, but it took a couple of years. I didn't know that it would be this. I think I was thinking of different stories for Parker, and it took me a couple of years to realize, oh, what am I thinking? We loved this character Faye from the earlier film, so why don't I just make part 2 about her?
So I said before that Faye Green is a sequel to Henry Fool, but in a sense it's not. It's very much actually there is very little continuation, because Henry Fool is very locally oriented. It goes on in a little town. Faye Green goes on everywhere, and the characters change a lot. Like Simon Green is is much more confident here. Henry Fool is in the first film. He turns out to be some kind of loser at the end, working. Now he's a big shot. Faye Green is completely immature in the first film. Now she's this maternal type, at least in the beginning. So can you maybe comment?
Well, that's one of the things that's fun about this, is that the prospect of making a series of stories over the years, and the people who actually play the characters grow up. They become older, and they change, both their characters, but actually the performers themselves. Something that's very exciting to me is that Liam Aiken, who plays Ned, his very first film when he was 5 years old was in Henry Fool, when he was 5. And so now I'm dealing with this totally different type of kid who's 16 or whatever. Yeah, I look forward to that in the future, and I sort of invite those changes.
Can we presume that you are going to make another film? Because the end in Henry Fool is completely open, so to all directions, and I think the same thing happens here.
Part 3 is being written. I have a meeting with Liam Aiken in December, because it will be about him. It will focus on him. Just as this, you were saying before that there's certain kinds of continuities, but not a lot of them. Yeah, I actually don't think of this so much. When I was looking for examples of what I was trying to do, I found it in books, certain sort of series of books. I'm thinking of those Master and Commander novels, which are about ships in the 1700s, and it's like 12 of these books, and they have all similar characters. Characters go throughout them, but the books can be read in any sequence. It's a little bit more like a television show. You don't really need to see them in order.
You shoot everything slanted. What does it mean? What does this mean in your language?
For me, it's just fun. This is sort of not an espionage thriller. It's like an espionage thriller. I just found this, it sort of allows you not to take everything perfectly seriously. Of course, there are serious things being discussed, serious things going through, to remind you that you can keep it at arm's distance and look at it as from different angles, whatever. But mostly that means to me fun. You're allowed to have fun with the film. It grows a little bit out of a lot of the shooting I've been doing with earlier films, my past 3, which were made with smaller equipment, DV cameras and things. And the cameras were so small, I found myself making pictures all the time with no regard to level. So there's not a tremendous amount of like psychological meaning with the tilting of the camera. It's kind of unintellectual. I just want it to be fun. How can it looks more cool this way? You know, it's superficial but important.
Yes, the next film will be called Ned Fool or Ned Grim?
I will work that out. Neither. He's going to need to use a pseudonym, a fake name, because at the beginning of part 3, both the names Grim and Fool will be sort of too provocative, and since his mother is in really big trouble at the end of this film, she'll be in really big trouble at the beginning of part 3, and so he's in a sort of a witness protection program. So it will be a different name, and I'm not going to tell you what the name is.
A few years ago, Elina Löwensohn was here in the Cinematheque at the festival, and it was really nice to see that. I mean, she's working again with you. What is going on? How come? What happened?
For those of you who did not hear, he's asking about Elina Löwensohn, who plays Bibi, who's an actress. She's worked with me a lot since the early 90s. She's Romanian originally, and she moved to France as a child and then wound up in the United States in the late 80s. She's really busy doing a lot of theater. Her husband is French, a painter in Paris, so she lives in Paris and is more associated with theater in Paris and various parts of France.
But had she been in any film projects recently apart from?
Apart from my film?
Yeah.
I think so. In France. She's been working very hard to try to act in French. I make it easier for her. I don't care what your accent is. I love hearing my English coming out of her mouth is always a beautiful thing.
So, did you write Bibi's role for Elina?
In fact, no, I didn't. Elina didn't get involved until late in the game. I almost cast a German actress to play Bibi. I didn't think of casting Elina as Bibi because even when I was writing, I thought that Bibi was so similar to Elina's role in my film Amateur from whenever, the early 90s, 1994 or so. And I just thought, oh, she's not going to want to play the same type of girl. But when I needed her, she said, no problem, she'd go.
But the role was written for Faye Green, for Parker Posey.
For Parker, yes. It was written for Parker.
What about Thomas J. Ryan? Can you
nobody else can play Henry. So. Yeah, nobody else can play Henry except Tom now. So. I hope that, I'm sure that in part 3, Tom, Henry's character will be there a lot